Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our lectures from the Cámara Plana de Comercio Exterior. These are our English classes that, our English topics. Remember, this is being English for specific purposes. Um, as we normally do, we talk about business issues in the English language with some terminology and in context. Okay. So remember that you can ask me questions through Zoom and also through Facebook. Okay, I'll be answering your questions through both platforms. Okay, so let's begin. Today's topic is going to be marketing strategy and product development. Okay, marketing strategy and product development. As you know, my name is Carlos Martinez Flores. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I am a former team leader at Pacific University at CEDUP at the Language Center. And currently, I am an EFL teacher at Mater Purísima School here in Miraflores, Lima. Okay, like I said, the topic of today is going to be marketing strategy and product development. A very brief view of what this is, because as you know, and maybe as my marketing professionals who are watching us might know, that it's very difficult to talk about all the topics related to this area in 45 minutes, right? But we'll do our best to try to cover them as best as possible. And again, like I said, you can ask me questions through Facebook chat. Okay, so let's begin. So when we talk about marketing, we talk about the way that a product is going to be sold, how it's going to be, and the strategies that are going to be taken into account when we want to sell a product in a certain market, and what we're going to do, and what type of product we're going to sell, what is the price that it's going to have, etc. These are the things that are taken into account in a broad spectrum when we talk about marketing. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is of course, the origin of a new product ideas. It's always marketing needs to be taken into account when we make a new product, because new ideas are always helpful and are always needed, but just because it's a new idea, that doesn't mean it's going to be successful. A good marketing strategy needs to be set, needs to be produced, needs to be prepared, needs to be researched and evaluated to be so that this new product could be successful. Then we're going to talk about key concepts, key information that we need to take into account when we talk about our marketing strategy and how we're going to sell the products. Then we're also going to talk about branding. Branding is how we're going to brand is, for example, different brands that we have in the market of soda brands, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. For example, milk brands, we have Gloria, Live, and different brand is the name of the product. Okay, but branding is when we want to make this name recognizable, when we want to make this name successful, when we want to make this name known by everybody or a lot of people. And it could be a name, it could be the product, it could be the company, it could be what it does. Okay, so that's branding. Then industrial products, or the B2B, we're going to mention what B2B means, okay, and some characteristics of each one. Some pricing strategies, how we can decide on what price a product will have, and what we need to take into account when we want to decide on the price of a product. We can't just invent numbers. We need every product that you see in stores and that is sold has a certain price for a certain reason, and we'll talk about that too. And finally, like I mentioned before, how to determine this price. Okay, how are we going to decide the price of our product? Okay, so like I said, you can ask me questions through Zoom, or you can ask me questions through Facebook. I'm always reading your messages, so I will be able to answer them as quickly as possible or as soon as I receive them. Very good. So again, we're going to talk about the origin of the new product ideas, the key concepts, branding, the industrial B2B products, pricing strategies, and determining the prices. Remember that these English classes are English for specific purposes. We are going to talk about some English for general purposes in the next class, but basically these are these are business topics in the English language. Okay, number one, the origin of new product ideas. Okay, so before any new product could be created, we need to do a market research. Okay, is this product, what does the area, or what do the people in this certain area need, or what are they looking for, or what are they going to what do you think this area or people will buy? Then we have pre-sales and after sales. The pre-sale, of course, is everything you do prior to start selling it, and after sales is everything you do after you've made the sale. And that is like, for example, listening to customers, right? It's very important to listen to the customers. Then we have customers make direct suggestions that not as you can see, and this happens to us every day when you make a phone call to a telephone company, and when you finish, they say, okay, please stand by for a survey. Okay, or please, or when you access, for example, a certain platform, at the end, they always say, okay, please answer some questions. Okay, so all these suggestions are taken into account. When you take a taxi service, be it Uber, whatever, when you finish, you have to give suggestions. When you use one of these delivery services, Rappi or Glovo, they always ask you to give a suggestion. Okay, so the companies are doing this not because they just want to make you lose your time, but because it's important for them to know how their service is going and if they need to make any change. When we talk about origin of new product ideas, we also need to take into account our competitor activity. Sometimes there's what is called reverse engineer products. A reverse engineer product is a product that is a copy in its process or in its fabrication or in everything. Okay, so these things need to be taken into account. Okay, what activity do we have a competitor, or do we have a company that normally does this? Okay, so what measures are we going to take to avoid or to contrast this? Then it's also important to have an R&D department. An R&D department is what is called the research and development department. Sometimes the importance that is given to the R&D department is not as it should be. How do you know if the product is going to be successful? You need to research. You need to make a survey. You need to investigate. You need to know where you're going to sell it, how you're going to sell it, when you're going to sell it. And this can only be known or achieved through research. And then we have the development, of course, is once we have the research, we develop our ideas and we put them into paper and then into a literal product. And then the external changes in the market. Okay, we need to also, for example, new products appear sometimes when something new happens in the market because of something that is in fashion or because something occurred, and we need to be ready to make the changes. And if we need to create a new product, then we need to apply this new product needs to be adapted to the changes in the market. Okay. Number two, key concepts. Okay, key concepts. There are three things we need to take into account. First, the product line. They are physically similar and intended for the same market. Okay. Now, when we have products that are in product line, that means that they are. You can sell the same product with certain similar differences, but for a same market. Okay, we change maybe some details, we change maybe the name, we change maybe some, make a variety of one product, and but it's still the same with just a different variety. Or we want to have two products in the same market, but we don't want to make two drastic measures or changes. Okay, this is what is called a product line. Then we have product mix, which is a variety. Okay, and now we have an assortment of products. We have different types of products. And finally, the product life cycle, which is every product has an introduction, a growth, a maturity, and a decline. It's very rare that products will last forever. Normally, they can grow for many years and they can stay mature for many years, but eventually something happens and decline starts. Okay, so these three things I need to take into account when we talk about key concepts. The product line is when we have products that are similar, physically similar, or they are intended for the same market. The product mix is when we have a variety of product lines, when we have a range of products. And finally, I apologize for the sound. And finally, the product life cycle, which is every product has an introduction of the product, it grows, it matures, and finally it declines. Um, this happens to every product. Okay? This is not intended for only one, but of course, the better if we have a good marketing, you have a good marketing strategy, then this process will be a long one and not a short one. Branding. Okay, when we talk about brand, like I said, a brand is a name, a symbol, a design, or a combination that identifies a product. Okay, like I said before, we have different brands in soda, in beverages. We have Coca-Cola, Guaraná, etc. In oil, we have all these different kinds of oils, Nicolini, and all these different brands. And when we have, okay, so brands is the name, is the symbol or the design that identifies a product. Then we have the trademark. The trademark is the same, but it's when legally nobody else can use it but you. Okay, this needs to go through a process. The name needs to be filed. The logo needs to be filed, and this process is done through Indecopi here in Peru. You when you want to make a trademark, nobody else can use it for the time that you because it belongs to you. Okay, so legally nobody else can use it, and this can be punishable by law. Then brand loyalty stages. Okay, so the loyalty, which means that how people, if people are going to stay with you forever or for a long time, goes to three stages, right? The first one is brand awareness, is the recognition. They recognize that you exist. They recognize that your brand is good or it's important. Then you have brand preference. Now comes the second stage, is where even though there are many products that are similar to yours, the customer decides to go with yours. And brand insistence is when, okay, now it's going, I mean, nothing can change your idea. I mean, whatever happens, your brand will always be the chosen one. Okay, so this is another thing to be taken into account when we refer to marketing. The brand, which is the name, the symbol, design that depicts the product. The trademark is the legal name, brand, or symbol that identifies your product and nobody else can use it. And how we achieve brand loyalty in three steps. First, awareness, people recognize you exist. Second, people start deciding you over others. And the assistance is when the loyalty is established. Then nothing else can change that. Okay, very good. Let's go now to the other three concepts that we mentioned, the industrial B2B products. Okay, now here we take into account the installations. Okay, the major capital items, heavy equipment, etc. We also take into account the accessories, which are the hand tools, photocopiers, everything that you need is that it's an accessory to produce the product. The component parts are everything that makes your equipment and your installations work. The raw material are, again, here I mentioned farm and natural products, but it has to do, it is anything that is the initial step of what your product is. And the supplies are the expense items that do not become part of the final product. For example, the paperwork, the pen, everything that you use that does not intervene in what the final product is. Okay, so these are the industrial products that take into account when we want to also produce a marketing strategy. All these things will be taken into account. Okay. And next is the pricing strategies. Okay. First, here are some things that we need to talk. First is the profitability. Okay, it's the aim of achieving a return on an investment. Okay, how profitable can something be? We get max revenues with minimum costs. Okay, when we are capable of receiving a lot of money in return and not investing too much. Okay, for example, our product costs, I'm going to give you numbers. We spend 20 soles to make a product and we want 100. So that means that our revenue is 80 because after paying back all that it costs, we have a revenue of 80. Okay, so that is profitability. It's the aim of achieving a maximum return on your investment. Then we have market share. Here is when we intervene in the market and we increase the percentage in the market by selling at a low price. Okay, so we want to sell a lot, so we decide that we want to lower the price. This is market share. We lower the price to increase our sales. Okay, if it's profitable or not, that will depend on your research department. If you think it's a good option, again, this will depend on the marketing department, but it's an option. Okay, some products they decide that even though they sell a good product, they want to sell it at a lower price because they want to increase their percentage in the market. Okay, here in Lima we have many cases in sodas and in things that people eat that are at a relatively low price. Then we have matching the market leaders. Now here is when our price is set because we think that our quality is the same as the leaders, as the products who have a higher participation in the market. So we collocate them as the standard. Okay, our prices are going to be set by what the majority of these big companies charge. So for example, if the standard is 10, then your product is going to be 9, 10, 8, 9, 10 in that area. Okay, so because you are taking into account that your product is just as good at that one as that one. Okay, this is the opposite of market share. Market share, then the standard is 10, so you're going to sell it at 5 or 6 because you want to sell it cheaper. Okay, and you want to improve your presence in the market. Then we have prestige pricing. Here is when products, they purposely collocate a high price because they want to maintain a certain image or a certain reputation. Okay, for example, this happens normally in automobiles. You know that Lamborghinis are going to be six-figure cars because that's how they cost. I mean, if you want a Lamborghini, you're going to have to invest the money. Okay, so this is prestige pricing, and you can have this in many things: in clothing, in accessories, in shoes, in cars, in anything that you buy. Normally, we associate, oh, this is expensive, so it has to be good. Okay, so sometimes it works out like that, and it's the opposite of market share. Sometimes, this is cheap, so it has to be bad. That doesn't necessarily work like that. The marketing department will decide if your price is going to be set by market share, by matching the market leaders, or by prestige pricing. It depends. Okay, now next we have identifying the correct price point. That's avoid increasing price, avoid damaging sales. So we want the exact number that's going to give us revenue. For example, let's say my product cost me 5 to produce. I cannot set it under 5. It needs to be higher than that. For example, at least 6 or 7. That way I can recuperate my 5 and I can win 1 or 2. So I don't increase the price too much because I do not want to damage my sales. Okay, this is to identify the correct price point. What is the price? What is the maximum price that I can sell something without making it too expensive and without damaging the sales of the product? Okay. And finally, we have the social objectives, which is done by the subsidies that the government gives to make it more profitable. For example, the biggest example that we have now in Lima is the Metropolitano. The Metropolitano says that due to the fact that it has lower passengers, it cannot continue to charge the normal price. So the government has decided to subsidize it. That means that the government is going to pay whatever money they are missing right now at the moment, so that they can maintain their price at the normal price. That way, it makes it affordable. Because imagine if the government did not subsidize the Metropolitano, maybe the prices would have gone up to 5 soles, which was what they wanted to charge, and that would have been very, very expensive. So these are 6 pricing strategies. that are taken into account when we want to set the price. The profitability is that when we go the maximum money I can get from a product and investing the least amount of money. Okay, maximum revenue, minimum costs. That is profit. That is profitability. I mean, how much how much money can I get from this product, and at the same time, what is the least amount of money I can invest in it? That's the first one when we only think about the profit. Second, so normally that doesn't make. Oh, sorry, let's go back. That normally doesn't make it a good product. I mean, just I'm squeezing the most amount of revenues at minimum costs. Market share is when again when we purposely lower the prices because we want to make it accessible to everyone, and we want to have a good presence in the market. Actually, leading market, the market leaders is when we set the price at the standard. Everybody's charging 5, so let's charge 5 because that's what normally people pay. People won't complain. Next, the prestige pricing is when we associate a high price for a good quality product. And many people live their way like that. They think, okay, if this is expensive, this has to be good. So in this way, they maintain a certain image of luxury or of uniqueness or of things that are exclusive, right? Exclusivity. Then we have identifying the correct price point. Here we charge not too much to avoid damaging the sales. Okay, we still win, not too much, but we avoid damaging the sales. And finally, social objectives is when a price is set by the government because the government wants to make it affordable to everyone. So even though maybe your price is, oh no, I think my product is, I have to set it an 8, but the people cannot pay more than 4. So the government pays the 4 that is missing. Okay, this is a subsidy, right? No, my product, I mean, my product is a good product and I can only set it at 7. Okay, but people can only pay 5. Okay, then the government will pay the 2 that is missing. That way it is accessible for everyone. Okay, so this has to do with pricing strategies. And how do we determine the prices? The prices there are 2 ways of determining prices. First is the cost-based pricing. Okay, we add a specific percentage markup, which is what we call margines, right? To base cost to give selling price. Okay, so this is my product. After all my investment cost 5. Okay, so I'm going to add a percentage to win, or I mean to recover my investment plus more. Okay, that is the cost-based pricing. That is when I add a certain amount to my base cost. Okay, what it costs me to produce this product. I'm going to add a specific amount to make it profitable. And the next one is the break-even analysis, is determining the minimum sales volume that covers all the costs. Okay, now here is what is the minimum I can charge to break even. I mean, not to lose. I mean, I invested 10 and I want to at least recover my 10, not 9, because if it's 9, then I'm losing. Okay, that is the break-even analysis. Break-even is to finish without 0, with nor up nor down. Okay, so these are 2 ways to determine price. The first one is the cost-based pricing, when we add a percentage to the cost of my product. How much did it cost? Okay, so my product cost 5. How much? I'm going to add some more to that to be able to recuperate. And break-even analysis is when my product costs 5. I'm going to charge 5. That way, I break even. I don't lose and I don't win. These are two strategies to determine the price. Okay. Now, again, marketing strategies. We have 5 in total. The first one is the analysis of the wider business environment. Okay, I want to analyze, my strategy is to analyze everything that surrounds my product. Okay, we evaluate the political area, the legal area, the economic area, the social, the cultural, the technological, everything that has to do with the environment or where my product is going to be sold. The acronym for this is PEST, political, economical, social, and technological. Okay, so we evaluate these four things normally, and there are also some others that I mentioned when you want to know what is going to be my strategy. Okay, for example, if you live in a communist, if your product is going to be sold in a communist country, maybe you shouldn't talk too much about the um, um, democratic companies, or vice versa, right? For example, right now, in the U.S. government, in the U.S. election, since there's one candidate who likes to talk about a lot of social programs, the other candidate is saying he's a socialist, and immediately when you in the U.S. they have an idea that a socialist country is like a bad thing. Of course, they use the examples of China or all these some Asian countries, but that is two. There are two different ideas, right? But they are playing with that name. Okay, so there needs to be a marketing strategy where this political issue can be taken care of. Okay, and the same for like the economical issue, the social issue, and the technological issue. You need to take into account all these ideas before you set up a strategy. Next, the identification analysis. Okay, you have to identify what is your objective, what is your market, and you have to analyze it. What do they like? What they need? Will this be something that they will buy, etc. Okay, so this is more done in new markets and new products. I mean, for example, if you have been working many years in Lima, then you know how the Lima market works, so you don't need maybe you won't need to evaluate too much. You will need to identify many things because you already know this market. But if it's the first time you're going to be selling in another city, then this needs to be taken into account. And the same with new products. Maybe you have worked many years in Lima, but now you want to sell a new product. Okay, how will this new product work in the market of Lima? Okay, so you need to identify and identify weaknesses, identify strengths. You need to analyze solutions, and think about ways of achieving your goal in the marketing department, which is to make your product profitable and successful. Sales goals. Okay, now this is another one. Okay, your strategy will depend on what is your sales goal in terms of value and revenue. Okay, how much would you like to sell it to everyone? Would you like to sell it only, for example, here in Lima we have the economics, our society is divided by A, B, C, D, E, and maybe are you only want to focus for A or B or A and B or A, B, C, or do you want to reach everyone? Okay, how much money would you like to make? Would you like to sell? Would you like to make 100% profit, 50% profit? So all these things need to be taken into account before you create your marketing strategy. Next, the marketing budget. Okay, now this is okay. Now I have all this plan, but okay, the company. Okay, do you have the money to pay for this? How much do you have first? Okay, that's one way to look at it. Okay, tell me, how much do you think to invest in this marketing strategy? I want to invest a certain amount. Okay, for that amount, I can offer you this. Okay, maybe they say no, the budget is unlimited. Oh, then you have an open door to do whatever you want. Okay, now how much do you need? I mean, how much do you want to be? Do you want this to be a monthly thing, a yearly thing, a weekly thing? How much of our services do you need? What is your goal? I mean, what do you want to achieve with this strategy? Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to be second place? Do you want to only be a peer? Do you want to only be do you only want to appear in the market? It doesn't matter if you're the leader or not. It depends. And finally, what can you afford? Okay, so this is similar to the first one. Um, what can you afford with this strategy? Okay, with this budget. Okay, with this budget, you can only receive this or that. Okay, and finally, the element of the marketing mix and their timing. Um, I mean, when we talk about this part, we talk about everything that involves the strategy. Okay, maybe this product can only be sold in a certain time. Maybe this product can only be sold to a certain group. Maybe this product can only be sold during a certain season. Okay, so all these things are taken into account when we make a marketing strategy. Although here in Lima our weather is neither nor too cold nor too hot. That's why sometimes we see ice cream vendors year round. There are some places in the world where ice creams are only sold in the summertime because it gets too cold in the wintertime. So that could be an element that will decide what your strategy is going to be. Okay. Very good. Now, a marketing mix. In marketing mix, we have the 4 Ps, which are the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. Okay. These are 4 things that you need to take into account when you want to create a marketing strategy or a marketing um, um, what you call it, a marketing um, what you want to do to make your product profitable and recognizable. You need to focus on the product. Okay, you need to make sure that everybody knows that it's a good product. Your price needs to be a reasonable price, a price that even though your product might be the best, you can't charge too much unless your market is, let's say, a place where money is not a problem, like Dubai or these places where rich people live. A place, the distribution channel. Okay, where am I selling this? Okay, and do I want to sell, for example, imagine you want to sell surfboards, maybe selling them in Cusco or in the mountains, it won't be a good idea because where are they going to use it, right? And stuff like that. And promotion, again, what can you do to make, how are you able to promote this product? How would you make it, maybe what offers, what sales, what discounts, and these things need to be taken into account. So these are the 4 Ps of marketing that need to be taken into account whenever you want to produce or whenever you want to make an interesting or successful marketing strategy. But sometimes there's one fifth element that sometimes is taken into account, which is the packaging. Okay, nowadays packaging is very important, and not only because it will help you the transportation of your product, not only because your product will be received undamaged, but because if you have ever just clicked around in YouTube, there are many pages where you have these unboxing channels. Okay, nowadays, just the fact of seeing it's very relaxing, and it's very stimulating to open a new box and see a new product. So packaging has become relevant. Also, now it's not only a box with things inside. No, now what do you see when you open the box? What is the material that your product is going to come in? What do you find inside? What is included in the package? How are you going to wrap it? How are you going to the colors, the material? Everything is taken into account now. So packaging is very relevant. That's why you need to when you make a marketing strategy, you also need to take, okay, we have the product, we have the price, we have the place of the promotion, but how are we going to package it? Okay, because maybe we can kill our whole strategy just with a bad package. Okay, so it's very important to take into account. And also the total product offer. This is diversity of elements that make up a product value. Okay, everything, all of these things are taken into account in the total product offer. All the elements add, and all the elements, take away. If you the name, the package, the colors, the price, where it's sold, the marketing strategies, all of these things make up for what the total product offer is. Okay, everything adds up. The value for your product, everything, all of these things add. Okay, so all of these, what it is what is called the total product offer. Not only the product itself, everything is taken into account. Okay, and we also are going to talk about market research. What is to market research? It's collecting information to identify needs and to improve existing products. Okay, so this is market research. Market research, the first way we can classify market research can be by the secondary information. Secondary information is the easiest data to collect. Okay, it's the easiest one to collect. Why? Because the information that already exists. Surveys, investigations, research, um, the information that the government gives you during the surveys that they normally make. So all this information you can find. It's easy to get because it's accessible. It already exists. So you don't have to basically more than investigate, more than research. It's more like a collection, because all the secondary information is already done, has already been done and real and collected by other people. All you do is collect the information. Okay. And then we have the primary data. The primary data is new information. This is more difficult to achieve. Okay. And it's also more expensive because, like I said, secondary data, you can just go and look for it. And you can get it online. You can go to government places and ask for it. And you can go to survey companies and get it. Okay. You can go to the company itself. Okay, tell me how much you sold last year. How much did you sell in the last 5 years? What has been your experience in this market for such and such time? Or we're going to collect it from another place. Okay, so all this information is easy to get and achieve, whereas the primary data is not. This is new information. Okay, everything that you cannot find while searching during the second information becomes primary data. Okay, so remember, everything, all the information that you need, but is not accessible via the secondary information collection, then becomes primary data. We need this information, so we need to collect it. It is more difficult to get and it's more expensive to obtain, because here you have to go to processes. You have to do something to get it. You can't you cannot only go and ask for it. Okay, now here you have more exact answers. The detailed information that you get is more precise. Here we have qualitative information and quantitative information. Okay, in qualitative information is done through focus groups. You know, you interview people, you go through survey, you ask for what do you think, what is your opinion, and what is your experience. And then in the quantitative information is through surveys. People just check true, false, yes, no, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So these are done through surveys to papers. Okay, so remember, we have qualitative information and quantitative information. Um, one, of course, refers to quality, which is more subjective, and one is quantitative, which is more objective. You know, you can see, you can numbers and data. And then it's also achievable to benchmarking. Okay, like we mentioned before, a benchmark is when you compare you compare your functionality to a top seller or a top leader. For example, like I said before in the last meeting that we had, the last class, you can see benchmarkings for cell phones or for operating systems. You collocate Android and iOS and you put them to do the same thing at the same time and see who does it faster, quicker, or better. Or you collocate two brands, Samsung and Huawei, for example. Or you collocate an iPhone with an S10, and you see, okay, that's doing the same thing, and to see how they function. And it's, when you talk about competitors, you also talk about big competitors. There's no purpose of you to benchmark with a brand that is not your competition. Maybe it's the same product, but if it's not your competition, if you know your sales are better than that one, there's no reason for you to compare with somebody that's underneath you in the market. You should always benchmark with a person, a thing, or a product that is above you in the market, or is considered one of the best, because that is your objective. You want to reach that. If you can beat one of the best, then that's a great thing for your marketing strategy. Okay, now market segment. With this topic, we're going to finish with market segmentation. Who is the target? It depends. Okay, we have the first one is the B2B, like I mentioned before, business to business, the business to business market, and these are for industrial products. Okay, then we have the B2C, which is the business to consumer. This is the consumer product. Okay, so these are the two main products: industrial products, B2B, consumer products, B2C. Okay, so now we have segmented the market into industries and into normal people. Okay, that's normal, that's fine. There are some products that are exclusively for normal people, normal consumers, and there are some products or services that are specifically for industries that, and they sometimes they don't combine. And the last one, which is, I mean, it's still considered a segment, but it can be a combination of both, is the B2G, business to government. Okay, um, because in this case we can offer industrial products or we can offer consumer products, but we're offering it to the government. Why is it considered like a different segment? Because, well, with the government there are some regulations, there are some specific things you have to match. um, Normally the negotiations are big numbers. I mean, you're not going to sell one, but you're going to sell 1 million. You need to have all the paperwork and all the things that they ask for. Okay, so, but the difference is, like I said, it's a combination of both, because in a B2G you can offer industrial products to the government, and a B2G you can offer consumer products to the government. It depends on what business you are in. Okay, so these are three ways that our market is segmented: the B2B, business to business, industrial products; B2C, business to customers, consumer products; and B2G, business to government. It can be industrial, it can be consumer, but when you do business with the government, it's a totally different scenario. It's a totally different experience than working with industries or working with consumers. And then we have a specific market segmentation. Here we have the first one, product related. Okay, um, some products are for comfort, some products are for safety, some products are for luxury, some products are convenience, durability. Okay, so it depends on the product. For example, market segmentation for luxurious things, you're going to have Bentleys in cars, Bentleys, Lamborghinis. You're going to have, for example, Bugattis. You're going to have Ferraris, Porsches. It's very, if that is your segment, then it's going to be very difficult to have a Tico, for example, in this area, because that's not his segment, right? The same for example, let's say safety. We have all the things that are related to safety: alarm, security cameras, security fence, everything that is related to safety. Okay, that is when the market is segmented by the type of product that you are selling. Okay, then we have the demographic one. Okay, now it depends on the people. Okay, age, gender, education, family life, income, occupation. For example, age, there are certain products that are for children, certain products that are for teens, certain products that are for adults, middle-aged, old people. Also, other occupation, there are certain products that are for people, for engineers, there are certain products that are for doctors, certain products that are for teachers. Your income, there are certain products that are for high income, certain products that are for lower income. Okay, so this is another way a market is segmented because of the demographic. Okay, who you're selling to. Okay, this is another way that a market is segmented, of who you're selling the product to. Very good. Now we have the psychographic ones. This has to do with, for example, attitudes, lifestyles, opinions, values. There are products that are for certain lifestyles. For example, if you like to travel, then there are products that are related to that. If you're more like, you like to stay at home, there's a product related to that. For example, values, things that are like religion and stuff like that. There are certain products that are aimed for these types of choices. Okay, they're not good, they're not bad, they're just made for this demographic. For example, maybe t-shirts that mention religion. Maybe for some people they're good, for some people they're bad, but that doesn't make it a bad product. Maybe if you don't like it, it's because it's not your market. It's not your segment. Maybe that's for another group of people. Okay, and with other opinions. Okay, and finally we have the geographical one. It depends on the region where you are. Okay, the place where you live. Some products are segmented by geography. There are, for example, cell phones. There are some cell phones, the same cell phone, it has two categories: North America, South America, Asia sometimes. Okay, or certain products, certain even certain shows. Certain shows are only for this region. For example, if you have Netflix, or the shows that Netflix in North America has are different than the ones that Netflix in South America has, and in the same in South America. Peru has certain shows, Brazil has shows, Argentina has shows, and these shows are determined by the market where they are headed to. Okay. So like I mentioned, to finish with the topic of market segmentation, it depends first of who is the target. If it's a business, B2B, if it's a consumer, B2C, if it's a government, B2G, and then more specifically, depending on the product, depending on the people, depending on the attitude, and depending on the location. It's the way that we can segment a market, okay? Very good. So now let's make some collocations related to this topic of market, okay? So the first one is consumer needs. What other collocations can you make related to this topic of marketing a product? Carrying out what? How would you match? Remember, collocations in English are very important because they are words that have no grammatical reason to go together. They go together because they go together. There is no explanation why. So let's see. Carrying out. How would you match carrying out? If you said a survey, you were correct. You carry out a survey. Very good. You carry out a survey. What about gaps? Gaps in the if you said market, then you were correct. Gaps in the market. Gaps is a space, a location in the space. Then we have consumer needs. Okay, consumer needs. Next, we have published. Published what? Published. Okay, I'm meeting you in Facebook. If you said published sources, then you were correct. A published source is newspapers, magazines, journals and stuff like that, right? That's a published source. Then a representative. A representative of what? We have sample of people, we have of competitors, we have reliable. Sample of people, very good, very good. A representative sample of people, excellent. And then we have two more, statistically and the activity, and we have of competitors and reliable. Statistically reliable, very good, very good. That means that the statistics, the forecasts or the possibilities are true, or they can be trusted, right? Very good, buddy, very good. And finally, the activity of competitors. It's always important to know what your competitors do. It's always important to know what they're doing or what they're planning, because maybe you need to make changes to adjust. And one more activity before we finish is here we have 3 definitions: an approximate price that someone will charge you, a fixed price that someone will charge you, often showing different items in detail, and a plan of how to spend money or money itself. And we have budget, estimate, and quotation. What do you think? An approximate price that someone will charge you, a fixed price that someone will charge you, often showing different items in detail, and finally, a plan of how to spend money or money itself. What is number 1? An approximate price that someone will charge you. It is the estimate, okay? It is the estimate. Finally, a fixed price that someone will charge you, often showing. It is the quotation. And finally, a plan on how to spend money or the money itself. It is the budget, okay? Very good. So I hope that you have enjoyed this topic. It's a very interesting and long topic. I have tried to do it as friendly as possible in the 45 minutes that we have. Um, the next topic is going to be an easier one, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And it's going to be about the sounds in the English language. We're going to talk about the different sounds that the English language has, and to eliminate that myth when people say it's impossible for me. Um, Statistics, yes, statistics. Yeah, sorry, I just read your question. Okay, so yes, it is statistics. Yes. The next topic of the next lecture is going to be the sounds in the English language. Like I was saying, um, I want to eliminate the myth that people say that no, it's too difficult for me to pronounce. And we're going to talk about the different sounds in English and how we can how the use of a dictionary can help us a lot when we want to pronounce correctly. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed the topic. Remember, this is the topic for Thursday, and we will talk about it in the next class. Thank you very much for your participation in Facebook. Thank you very much for your participation in Zoom, and I will see you the next class. Um, Remember that you can access a short evaluation in the comics webpage, a Facebook page. And here's my personal information if you would like to contact me. That's my email, my WhatsApp number, and my LinkedIn username if you want to ask me any questions related to English or any topic related to the presentation that we just had. Okay. Again, thank you very much for accompanying me during this hour, and I hope you have a great Tuesday and an even better week. See you on Thursday. Bye bye.